It's been a while since I've done a podcast, and I am so sorry. Life has its way of throwing you curveballs, and I've been busy. I've been busy in the office and been busy with the kids. The kids grow up fast, man. Like my oldest is 10, and our first one to get to double digits, and my little one, she's 7 now, and gosh, time is flying by. And so I've been doing a lot with social media, but I know people have been bugging me. Hey, where's the next podcast? Where's episode 60? Well, here it is, and we got a lot of changes, guys. We got a lot of changes coming up. One with the podcast, so. This episode will actually be the first episode, even though it's our 60th episode. This will be the first episode of the new branding of the podcast. I've been talking about this for a while, and we are now calling this podcast the Triple Play Podcast. Mind, body, nutrition, the Triple Play Podcast. Because everybody's an athlete in this game of life. Get off the sidelines. Time to get in the game. And we focus on mind, body, and nutrition. And this has been a project. I mean, nothing's really going to change, within the podcast. I may have less guests on here, and it'll be way more content driven. I want to have way more Q&A stuff. I know a lot of people out on Instagram. You guys have been reaching out to me asking questions. We're going to feature that on here. You guys will be able to call in on a number, or use the I guess I don't know even know what's that called, but you can leave a voice message on the website as well and ask your questions. And we're going to start featuring a lot of that stuff. We just launched my first masterclass called Vitality. It was a big success. A little over 100 people registered within a couple weeks without me even talking to anybody over the podcast. I didn't mention it anywhere over the podcast. This is the first time I'm talking about it. Just did it over social media, and it was something that people's been asking for me to do probably over 3 years now. So we got that going out, and all of these things will be linked up in the show notes as well. Gosh, we got all kinds of things going on. Just changes in life, and by the time you guys are probably listening to this, one of the biggest announcements has been made, that I have a successor in my practice at Velocity Wellness Center. Yes, I do have a successor. His name is Dr. Scott Carlton. He will be filling in for me as I take off into new adventures. Where my family and I will be leaving the great state of California and moving back to our homeland in Hawaii. And this is something that we've been looking and debating over for the last few years. And the first thing is we had to make sure that we had a doctor that we felt comfortable with. So I've been working with him over the last, several months, and making sure that he's the right fit. He's been coming into the office and working with our current patients. And it's been a tough decision for me, for our family, but we know that it's the right decision. There's things that we want to accomplish in our lives, and we know that this is the next step in our journey. But you know what? Regardless of what that is, gosh, I'm getting choked up talking about this stuff already. This is something that's been part of our lives for the last 14 years. This is what I've known. My patients has become part of my family, and the biggest issue that we had, or personally I had, was to make sure that I felt comfortable with handing handing the practice over to somebody that I know would continue to give our patients the care possible. And so so people who are in my inner circle has been asking me, well, what's next? And well, this is the next thing. I really wanted to do more and affect the world at a larger scale. And one of the big things that I've seen over the last 10 years is the advent of social media and how our information is being conveyed and also how the information is being perceived. And one of the big things I see today, it's a good and bad thing, is this information overload and people not really knowing what to do with the information that they have. And it's tugging people left and right and often leaving people just paralyzed and saying, well, I don't know which way to go. I don't know which one is right. So some people just end up throwing up their arms, or some people go down the wrong path for themselves. And I with me being trained by some of the top guys in the healthcare field, I felt that it was my duty to share this knowledge and share what I know from a clinical perspective with the world. And by no means am I saying that I'm better than any of the other guys out there. There's tons of great practitioners out there, and I applaud them. But I think I have a different perspective on how we need to move our health forward, and I think that's my biggest mission now, is to take the knowledge that I've been given and share this with the world, and creating this movement of better health and wellness, of being able to take your health into your own hands and not being held back by any of the old paradigms of our healthcare system. And so that is where I want to move towards. We've created basically a virtual wellness center, what I call the Triple Play Performance, and that'll be dedicated towards improving the mindset, improving your body, improving your nutrition, all the stuff that you need to elevate your consciousness so that you can lead your best life. And that's my whole goal, is to elevate the consciousness of humanity. And first of all, I wanted to thank you for coming along on this journey, and continuing this journey in this next chapter as we start to explore the different things. And I'm super excited about what we have in store. We have a whole bunch of different courses that we've finished our first master class, and we have a bunch of different things that we'll be rolling out in the near future. I know people have expressed interest in group coaching, so we're slowly rolling the group coaching out. We have the online health coaching as well, where I work one-on-one with patients. I've been doing that for a while, but we're going to bring that on a larger scale. Also have I've been talking to a bunch of other healthcare practitioners. We're putting together a team where we're going to do health retreats around the world, and been putting out feelers out there, and a lot of people seem interested, and a lot of people seem to agree that they'd love to attend, and people are saying having one in Hawaii. So we're currently working on that as well, and we'll keep you guys all in the loop. So I feel excited about the next chapter, in life. One of the questions I do get is, well, am I going to open up another wellness center in Hawaii? And that is still up in the air. I don't know. I may, but I know that at this moment, that this is the route that I want to go, and being able to take this to a different level where we can impact more lives. And so one of the things that, as a listener of this podcast, if this is the first time you're listening, or you've been with us since day one, the one thing I want to ask of you, if you could, is just continue to share the message that we have, through this podcast, share the knowledge that the past guests have shared. They were gracious enough to jump on the podcast. Connect with me on social media. I'm super active on Instagram. You can find me on Instagram at Triple Play Doc. You can also find me on Facebook. On my Facebook page is facebook.com/Triple Play Doc. And then we're going to be putting out a lot more content on our YouTube channel as well. So we're gonna kind of spread our wings there and dip our toe into that pool that I've watched people do and affect the lives of millions of people. But I didn't have that capacity to do that because of my ties and obligations of being in full-time practice and being responsible to my patients as well. To my patients, if you guys are listening, I know a bunch of you guys are listening. It's been an amazing ride from day one. I have so many fond memories, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for trusting me, and the rest of our staff with your health and wellness needs, and becoming part of our family, and trusting us enough to refer your friends and family, and now we're going to take what we did within the walls of that those four walls and in our practice, and we're going to bring this to the world, and help the world, because this is something that the world needs, and I feel that we're gonna go do it and impact the lives of millions of people, So that's what I got to say about that. That's all the news and updates of where we're going with that. And let's get into today's episode, which is all about the 5 overlooked causes of low back pain. Let's get into it. So as a chiropractor by license, most people, this is what they typically would come to see me. If they were finding us on Google or whatever place they found us, and they weren't referred. What I mean by any of our current patients, most of them would seek out our care because they had some type of musculoskeletal pain, and typically that would be back pain. And the majority of the patients that would come in for this is, they know that why their back pain or their low back pain is occurring. Usually they got injured, maybe in a sporting accident, maybe they got into a car accident. But you have that other 20% where they come into the office, they have low back pain, they have no idea, well, why is it even there? And this may have happened to you, and I can guarantee you this will happen to you at some point in your life. You're going to get some type of low back ache or pain that you don't necessarily know why. You can't attribute it to any type of physical activity or any type of strenuous activity that would have caused this low back pain. So that's what this episode is going to be about, is what I currently see as the top 5, and there's more than 5, by the way, but these are the top 5 reasons that are often overlooked of low back pain. And I've seen a lot of patients where they may have sought out other practitioners and other care for their low back pain, and it wasn't even their low back. And these are the 5 common reasons. Okay, so the first one is actually a digestive disturbance. And we don't often make this relation to each other, that you may have some type of digestive disturbance which may be causing your low back pain. But this is the number one reason that I see with low back pain that is unexplained. And there's a stark correlation between digestive issues, like constipation, bloating, any type of diarrhea, anything involving the colon, and sometimes the small intestine, but more so the colon, where that innervation coming from your low back and going to the colon area, that it refers pain to your low back area. And these people are getting massages and they're getting their back adjusted till the cows come home, but until they address that issue going on
within their digestive system, nothing really seems to help. So and oftentimes it's an undiagnosed thing that they don't necessarily know. Now you have people who may have like Crohn's disease or irritable bowel. They typically know the correlation between the two, but a lot of times people come in and they may have some type of digestive or unknown digestive issue, and it's causing their low back pain. So some places start there, start asking, well, do I feel bloated? Do I feel constipated? Do I have any type of digestive disturbance that I don't necessarily know about? And it's kind of hard to say. Like if you don't know about it, you would kind of know about it, but it's not overtly obvious. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things to look at. Number two reason is dehydration. And this can cause any type of pain, in your body because your muscles need water and they need a lot of hydration. And there's a big correlation between your hydration levels and your kidney function, your bladder function, right? So, and this is going to relate to number three as well. So I'm going to bring in number three. Number three is a shortened psoas muscle. So dehydration affects how your kidneys will function, and your kidneys have a relationship to the psoas muscle. So when you don't have enough water, it affects the kidneys, which affects the psoas muscle. Psoas muscle can get shortened. It can become inhibited where the muscle doesn't contract enough, and that can cause a overcontraction in your low back muscles. So we see a big correlation between the two of hydration levels and a shortened psoas muscle. Now, there's other reasons that can cause a shortened psoas muscle, which is any type of foot imbalances. So this is outside of the top five, but having foot imbalances would cause low back issues as well because of a biomechanical imbalance of how you're walking, right? So if you have, the foundation of your body's off, then the rest of your body's going to be off. Now, with a shortened psoas muscle, you're often going to have one side that's really tight, and then the opposite side, so you have two, right? A right and a left. The opposite side will be inhibited. Okay, so the one that's inhibited is usually because the kidneys are not working at 100%, and it's usually because you're dehydrated. So 90% of the time you can fix that by hydrating more. Now, if you back up even further, a lot of times we're not hydrating enough, or we're not getting hydrated enough because we have some type of underlying stressor. You have a chronic amount of stress, which throws off your adrenal hormone imbalance, which the adrenals secrete another hormone called aldosterone, which affects your hydration levels. And that can pose a problem upon your psoas muscle. It can put a problem on your low back. So you got to look at that as well. You got to take in, well, how much stress am I under? And you know this, when you get stressed out, your muscles become way tighter and you get fatigued way faster. So stress levels, and we're not going to get into stress in this episode, but that's one of the things too. So let's recap what we got so far. Digestive issues. Second one is dehydration. And the third one is shortened psoas muscle. All right, number four is the emotional stress. We just kind of touched a little bit on that, but specifically, whenever you have any type of emotions, I put up a chart, I don't know, a while back on my Instagram about what happens when you hold specific emotions. And there was a book written by Candace Pert called Molecules of Emotion. And what she found was that specific thought patterns create specific neural peptides. Now, if you keep that thought pattern going, you're going to secrete and create a lot of these neural peptides to where you can actually cause a toxicity in your body, for lack of a better term. And with this one study, what they found was that different emotional states would cause different parts of your body to increase in circulation or decrease in circulation. And so if you hold a specific type of emotion for a long period of time, you're going to increase circulation, which increases inflammation to that area, and that becomes a real big problem. Now, the other thing too is that with the emotional stress response, your body now switches into a fight or flight mode, and anytime you get into a fight or flight mode, your muscles go into contraction because your body's trying to fight against whatever's attacking you. So there's a common pattern with all of this of stress, and it's ubiquitous in our society, today. And this is one of the big things of why people end up in our office. It's just uncontrolled amounts of stress going on in their lives. So what what you need to do first is you need to actually look at your life and analyze what is your biggest stressor. And then you got to ask yourself, is it worth it? A lot of times we hold grudges towards people. And in my opinion, it's just my opinion now, you shouldn't be holding a grudge at all because the only person that it's hurting is you. And this is one of the big emotional stressors that I see with people who come in for low back pain. And the emotion of fear and paralyzed will, and that paralyzed will and the thought pattern of grudges usually go hand in hand, where you just feel like, very just stuck in your ways, and you're not budging in how you view a certain situation that may have occurred, and you're not willing to let it go. So your body holds on to it. You gotta let it go. It's wreaking havoc upon your health, and that's one of the big reasons why I see a lot of patients who have chronic low back issues is the emotional stress. So here's a fun tip that you can do. Take one hand, take any hand. You're gonna put it on your low back area, and then you're gonna take your other hand. You're gonna put it right over your forehead. So palm down, right over your forehead. Kind of like the natural reaction when people get stressed out, they put their hands on their forehead. Those are what we call the emotional neurovascular points, the ENVs, and you connect the area of involvement. And if it truly is a emotional thing, then connecting those two would give you a temporary relief of that until you personally resolve those emotional issues as well, so that they don't keep recurring. Okay, the last one, and this one, when I first learned about it, it didn't make sense. I mean, it didn't make sense on a physiological level because I'm like, where's the neurological connection here? But if you think about the logic behind it, it's very logical. And this was taught to me by my mentor. He was the founder of a technique called total body modification. His name is Dr. Viktor Frank. And this is what he called the cardiac low back, and basically meaning an underlying heart issue that you don't know about. So what happens is that you may have an issue going on with your heart they don't necessarily know about, and when the heart is being pushed too much, it'll send a mechanism to shut off your low back from functioning. So you can't do anything more to increase your physical demands. So you experience low back pain, right? So it causes you to slow down so you don't overtax your heart. And this is what he called cardiac low back. And the fix, it is not fixing the low back. The fix is actually looking at your cardiac function. Now, when we talk about cardiac function, we also got to talk about mitochondrial function, because your brain and your heart are the two heaviest areas of concentration for your mitochondria. That's for a whole different topic. If you want to dive way deeper into that, go and get my masterclass Vitality, over 2 hours of really in-depth stuff. I mean, you want to talk about going in depth, that class goes really in depth. But the crazier thing is that class is still the tip of the iceberg, compared to all the stuff that we're going to be teaching in upcoming classes. So that's just to get people's feet wet. But talking about mitochondrial health, when we talk about cardiac low back, is goes hand in hand. Actually, any type of low back pain. If you have a chronic low back issue, any type of chronic disease is always linked towards some type of mitochondrial issue. There's a researcher named Dr. Doug Wallace, and he was the guy that basically discovered all this stuff of pinning the mitochondrial function to all of these different types of chronic diseases. So, in further podcasts, we're going to talk about mitochondrial health, because this is something that you guys all need to put at the forefront of your mind and of your health regimen. So that's basically the five overlooked causes of what I see in practice. So the first one, digestive issues. Second one, dehydration. Third one is a shortened psoas muscle. The fourth one is emotional stress. And the fifth one is an underlying heart issue of what we call cardiac low back. All right, guys and gals, that is a wrap for this episode. Now, before we go, I do have a couple announcements outside of the super long announcement that we did in the introduction. So remember that the podcast now is going to be called the Triple Play Podcast, where we focus on mind, body, and nutrition. And what we're going to try to do in each of the episodes is pick apart a topic, and then we're going to see how do we address it from the three facets of mind, body, and nutrition. And then we're going to dive deeper into other issues of what you guys have been asking me about. So I'm going to try and put together things to answer your question here on the podcast. Again, thank you guys for your continued support in listening. Every week, even when I took the hiatus, I'm seeing people downloading the podcast, and I'm getting continual messages. So people listening. So it's great to see that you guys are getting some value out of it. Now, what we also have started, and I've said this before, but now we're diving a little bit deeper into it, is if you guys feel that you guys got value out of this, one, leave us a review, leave us a comment on our iTunes. This brings it out to the world, helps us to create this mission even further. Share this on your social media channels and tag me as well. And then we also have our Patreon page. So if you go to Patreon, patreon.com/tripleplaydoc, you are going to see that we also have content that we're going to be delivering there that's above and beyond what we do on the podcast. So there's different levels that you can do pledges at. And what these pledges do is that they help support the podcast and help support the growth of it, so we can put out other programs and grow this movement even further. So there's different tier levels of what we're going to be doing. So there's a fan level, there's an insider level. There's also the group coaching level. And the group coaching level basically is what you guys have been asking. So a lot of people who's wanting to be, they're like, hey doc, can I be a health consulting client? Not a lot of people actually either qualify for it, or they look at it and they're like, maybe this isn't for me, or it's kind of out of my budget right now, but they still want to get the benefits of getting some of their health questions answered, and kind of putting together a roadmap, for them to get back into health. So the group coaching, what happens is that I'll take your questions, and once a week in the Patreon group, what I'll do is I'll drop in, and then we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to dive deep into that and post all kinds of stuff for our group coaching members. And then at another level on that, we have the monthly webinar series. So once a month, I'm going to drop in, and we're going to dive deep into a specific topic of both our choices, my choice and your choice as well. So I'm going to take polls from people, and we're going to dive deep into it, give you some other perspective on things, and kind of guide you on the way there. Now, so these are things that people, you can do. Maybe my health consulting services may not be for you, or you just want to learn more. This is perfect for you. So that's where we're at. The links will be in the show notes. So www.patreon.com/triple play doc. Would appreciate it if you guys jumped on over in the community and let's start building that up. Bring a friend, bring two. Till the next episode, be well and aloha. Hey, if you've enjoyed this podcast, leave us a 5-star review. Connect with me on Instagram at Triple Play Doc. Stay tuned for more episodes. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell the entire world. Till the next episode, be well and aloha.